Hello and welcome to episode 137 of the Mouses Makes Knitting podcast. My name is Mandy, sometimes known as Mouse, and this week I have had a scattergun approach to my knitting. So I've got a lot to show you, but not much progress on any of it. In my defence, I have had a poorly husband. He was actually in bed for 3 days with a high temperature and a cough, and that is very, very unlike him. So I've been playing nursemaid and it cut down my knitting time. Also, I had to take over all the responsibilities that he normally takes care of. So yeah, ate into my knitting time a little bit, and I appreciate him all the more now. Okay, where to begin? Shall we start with my progress on Project Bedsock? I have to be very careful because right next to my chair is a mug upside down, and underneath the mug is a little spider who was intent in running underneath the rockers of my rocking chair, and I really didn't want to squish him, so I've had to capture him, but he's not yet been released into the wild. So I'll do that afterwards, but I don't want to knock the mug and accidentally squish him in the meantime. Right, Project Bedsock. If you are new, I have been asked by a friend of my husband's to secretly make 6 pairs of bed socks for his wife. Sorry. This is the second pair. He was hoping to have them all finished by the end of May, and that was never going to happen. So today I think is the 21st of May, and I am 2/3 of the way through the second pair. I am knitting them concurrently, and they don't fit very well on these blockers, but yeah, this is the second pair. I'm knitting them both concurrently, magic loop. The pattern I'm using is the Rye Light, I'm fairly certain. Rye Light Socks by Tin Can Knits. I'm actually getting it right this time. The first pair were DK, and I attempted the pattern, but instead of doing garter stitch in this front panel, I accidentally did reverse stocking stitch. It was the usual thing. I know what I'm doing. I don't need to read the pattern. They're going to be a size 9, which is why they don't fit very well on this blocker. I'm knitting them both at the same time, as I said. This sock is a little further along than this sock because what I'm doing is 10 rows a day. So this has had today's 10 rows on it, and this one will catch up tomorrow. I've done the heel flap and the gusset on both, so it really is now just finish the foot and pop on the toe, and then I can move on to the next pair. I'm going to use a different pattern for the next pair. I might even just go plain stocking stitch. The needles I'm using, magic loop, but I'm using Knit Pro Cubics. I've got a real thing for these at the moment. I really enjoy them. I don't know that they do what they claim to do and they're better for your hands. I'm not even sure that makes any difference. But I like them. I don't know why. So that's what I'm knitting them on. 2.75, which is what the pattern recommends, and 72 stitches. Although I have come down a bit on the foot, I'm down to 68 for a large ladies. So I've adapted a little bit from the pattern. So that's Project Bedsock. I have got 3 skeins of yarn dyed up, 4 skeins of yarn. So I've got all the yarn I need for the next ones is ready. So that's okay. Then I've cast on something new. There are some new gradient sets going into the shop on the, and I keep getting this confused. We had a long conversation about this last night, Ewan and I. It's the first Sunday in June, which I think is the first, or maybe the second. I could just look, couldn't I? That would be easier. Let me see. No, that's October. That's no use to me. Second. It is the 2nd of June. Will be the next shop update, and there are some more gradient sets going in. And there was another one that, well, there were two that I particularly liked, but I've cast one of them on. And the pattern that I'm using is actually designed for 12 20-gram mini gradient set, although you can knit it obviously in all the same colour, or 2 colours, or 3 colours, or whatever you want to do. There are no rules, are there? So it's called the Woolseer Shawl by Amber O'Brien. And I get that she does this so that, you know, people can't use her pictures, but I do find it a little annoying because you can't get a decent picture. But essentially it's a garter stitch shawl with eyelets, and I only cast it on yesterday. Yesterday was quite a busy day, but I managed to get a little bit done after dinner. So it's a bit of a sneak peek at the first colour of the gradient set. And you're going to go, oh, it's yellow again. I thought she didn't like yellow. Well, I'm not awfully keen on yellow, but I do like this kind of golden yellow. So, yes. This is, obviously you cast on at the pointy end, and then you work your way up in, now what type of triangle is it? Can't remember. But anyway, you end up with the longest edge. Well, it's not the longest edge because you know what I'm saying. I'm going to stop confusing everybody, including myself. Yep, so I've done that much of it. I've got a few more rows to go before I start introducing the second colour, which I have not wound up yet because I was too excited to start it. So yeah, I'll have to do that at the same time. Like there. What did I do with the pattern? Oh, I tucked it there. I feel very dishevelled and scruffy today, and I am sorry about that. But I'm in the mood to do some like deep spring cleaning of the living room today, so I didn't put anything particularly special on. And believe it or not, I have brushed my hair. Admittedly, it was before I had a shower. I haven't brushed it since. For that, I apologise once again. Okay. What shall I show you next? I think I'll show you this next. This is a new adventure for me. And I've stupidly covered up the picture. This is a crochet pattern. And it's called the Twilight Terrace Tabard by Serdar. It's design number 10728. And it's written for Dual Spun Aran yarn. Well, I substituted the yarn, and I'm using Yarnsmith's Aran, which is Wool Warehouse own brand. I do believe I've thrown the ball band away again. Don't you love that, you know, it's been over 3 years now that I've been podcasting. Don't you love the fact that I am so professional and everything is well organised and, what's the word they use? Curated. I'm afraid if I haven't managed it yet, it's never going to happen. Yes, Yarnsmith's Free Spirit Aran. And the colourway I'm using is 1D006, which I think is Madagascan Sunrise or Sunset or something. I think. Anyway, I started making it and there are how many sizes? 6 sizes. And I was going to make size number 6 because although size number 5 was the right size for me, I thought I'll make it a little bit bigger. So I was going to make size number 6. Then I realised that in substituting the yarn, I'd got a little bit overexcited. And rather than looking at the meterage, I'd just gone, oh, well, 600 grams of Tabard jewel spun. I'll get 600 grams of the Yarnsmith's Free Spirit Aran. Considerably less meterage in the Yarnsmiths. Which means 2 things. Firstly, it must be a heavier yarn, thicker. And secondly, I was going to run out. So I thought, well, I'll see how far I can get and then I'll order some more if I need some more. And I was fairly certain I was going to need at least another 2 balls. Well, I started crocheting and it quickly became apparent that the Yarnsmiths must be quite a bit thicker than the jewel spun because it was a lot bigger than it ought to have been. So whilst I started out making size number 6, I have ended up making size number 2. That's quite a difference. But I've finished the back. Let me work this out so I show you the right side. Here we go. Here is the back. I say it's finished. It should have, where I've got these extra rows, this is sort of like the top at the back. It should have some of those at the bottom as well. But I didn't have a great amount left. I got the back out of 3 balls, but I didn't have a huge amount left. Let me find what I had left. I suppose it's a reasonable amount. I've got this much left. And I still have to put, it's only like a slip stitch edging around. And I don't know if I've got, because I haven't read the pattern. Of course I haven't read the pattern properly. I don't know if I've got to do it around the neck and the sort of sleeve holes, probably. So, and also it's already quite long. Let me show you the pattern again. If you look at the pattern, oh, you can't see terribly well, but can you see the back comes right down to here and the front is all the way up there. I'm not keen on that look. So at the moment my intention is to make the back and the front the same length, put on any edgings that I need to, and then if I've got the inclination, add maybe a couple of rows on the back rather than what they ask for, which is almost the same number as at the top. But it's already quite long enough, so if I haven't got enough yarn to do that, I'm not going to be worried at all because I think it's long enough. I really like the colours. I've got long sleeve t-shirts in sort of like a terracotta, a teal, and this kind of berry colour. I've got a blouse that's a yellow mustard colour. I've got loads of stuff that this will go over, so that's why I chose this colourway. I haven't blocked it or anything. I will, of course, when I finished block it. So it looks a little bit wavy down at the bottom, which I suppose might be one of the reasons that you put this kind of edging on the bottom as well, but you don't do it on the front. I was going to say perhaps that stabilises a bit, but you don't do it on the front, so what would be the point? But anyway, I finished the back. I've just got to put in some markers to mark the centre and where the neck hole. I can't think of another word. Is there another word? A bit for your head to go through. Yeah, so I did finish that, which has been quite nice to work on in the evenings when it's been chilly, because it is really rather thick. It's going to be a lot warmer than I think it would have been had I done it with the jewel spun, although the jewel spun is warm. I'm still contemplating what to do with the jewel spun that I pulled down from the blanket. I don't know that I want to knit a sweater with it. I'm toying with the idea of knitting a cardigan instead. I can easily adapt the sweater pattern to be a cardigan. Or whether I want to make another one of these. The only problem with making another one of these is, and I think it's going to come to sort of here, because it's just square, you know, and I think it will come to about there. It's the tops of my arms that get cold the fastest. So I'm not sure the jewel spun, knitting the same pattern in the jewels, no, crocheting the same pattern in the jewel spun, is going to cover this cold bit of my arm. So I might go cardigan. So at the moment I've not touched it because I'm still deciding. I think cardigan's probably the way to go. I wear cardigans far more than I wear sweaters because I just chuck them on in the evening when I'm chilly. So watch this space. I should have said I have made a decision to pull down a shawl that I cast on a few weeks ago, the Exordium shawl. I know I wanted one in more wardrobe friendly colours, but it's a bit dull now. I don't like it. So I might re-knit it. I might substitute one of the colours and knit it again. Maybe with one of the colours and an undyed, just to lighten it a bit. But yeah, I'm not going to continue with that as it is at the moment. I'm going to do this one instead. So my whip count remains the same. I haven't added anything, I haven't finished anything, but I have, if you like, frogged and replaced. So I'm still standing at 37 at the moment. I have some yarn over there that I want to knit a tee with once I've finished one of the ones that I'm going to show you in a second. So I've put a little bit of work onto 3 tees. It's only 18 minutes and I'm just racing through everything. Why am I going so fast? I feel like I'm really rushing through this, and I'm sorry. This is not going to be a long visit. I told you all last week about how much progress Poppy had made. She's taken 2 steps back now. I should have kept my mouth shut, shouldn't I? Right, this is another tee that I have fished out and done some work on. And I do not have a hanger because I've got the other 2 on the hangers. This is the Summer Sorbet. Who is it by? Curses, curses. Oh, Lee Amber Knits. It's the Summer Sorbet, and I'm knitting it in what was last year's Year of Yarn colourway for July, and what is now called Harvest Time. This was a batch that came out a bit wrong. It was a bit too heavy on the burgundy, and so I kept it for myself. I have changed the pattern slightly. I've put in this ribbed neckline. You can leave the edges raw, or you can put an I-cord on, I believe, without checking the pattern. I've also put the sleeve edgings on, ribbed, and I will put a ribbed hem on it. I don't gravitate to knitting on it, and then I hold it up and I look at it and I think, oh, I do love this. I like the style and I like the colour, so I should really just crack on, shouldn't I? It's been a while since I showed it to you. I don't even remember when it was. A month, 6 weeks ago. And all I've done on it, can you see that marker there? I've done that much. It's not very much, and I need to get on with it. I'm a little concerned about the raglan, the way it's pulling there, but I think it will block, because I can pull it out, so I think if I block it, it will come out. That's that one, with what is now Mousewitch Yarn's Harvest Time, I think. I'm almost certain it's Harvest something. As usual, I don't know my own yarns. What can you expect? Okay. Breezeway. I've knit probably on this more than anything else. I have done from there. I've done that much. And I think today, in this light, you can actually see the gradient a bit better. Admittedly, you lose it a bit here. There is a colour change there, which you can't see so well on camera. But yeah, Breezeway coming along very nicely. I realised, however, that I've made not a mistake, but what I would normally do is when I split for the sleeves, I would then knit the sleeves to make sure that they're in the same colour as the body. Well, I forgot to do that. So the sleeves will end up being in the final colour, which is brown, and I'm hoping that won't look too odd. They are just very short sleeves. There's a few rows, and then I'm going to put the garter stitch border on. So hopefully it won't look too out of place. Yeah, I'll have to wait and see. At the moment, I think it would, because it's not connected to the rest of the body in any way. But by the time I finish the body, there will be brown at the bottom of the body, so it will hopefully tie in. Yeah, it was just a bit of a lack of thought there. I normally do it, you know, you've just seen it on the summer sorbet, and I've done it on the rocket tee, which I'm about to show you. I just forgot to do it on this one. Silly. I asked last week if anybody would be interested in a Breezeway knit along, and a few people said yes. So by the time you see this, there will be a thread opened on the Mouses Makes Ravelry page. It's going to be for the Breezeway, but I'm wondering if I should open it or open another one for anything that you're making to wear to a yarn show. Because my intention is to wear this, and I've got a purple one to knit as well, to wear to the Southern Wool Show in September. And I mean, this isn't everybody's cup of tea. I know some people don't like a round neck. So, yes, I've decided I'm going to open two threads. One is going to be for the Breezeway, and the other one is going to be for anything that you're knitting to wear to a yarn show. So that can be a tee, a sweater, a cardigan, a shawl, even socks. Why not? But to qualify, it has to be for a yarn show. Even if it's for one next year, you have to be knitting it with that purpose in mind. So, yeah. They will be open. Will there be prizes? Probably. Do I know what they are? Not yet. So. Oh, the Breezeway is by Fogbound Knits. I should have told you that right at the beginning and I forgot. The yarn that I'm using for this is Moonstone, and it's a gradient cake from Yarn Mixology, which is a cotton acrylic blend. So should be nice and cool if the weather is warm still, and should be fairly warm if the weather's got chilly. Okay. I'm just going to pause and have a little sip of my drink because my throat is drying out. One moment. Okay, last thing to show you is the Rocket Tee that I'm knitting with the Twilight Skies gradient set. And this I have done less progress than the Breezeway. So the marker is there. I've used a moon. I thought it was very apt for a twilight sky to have a moon on it. Unfortunately, now that we're into the darker colour, you can't see the moon very well. Oh, that's better. Yes, so I've done from there. Not a huge amount, but I've gone through one whole colour and I'm on to the next. And I think I've got 3 after this. So, because I've calculated, I've done maths, which is never very reliable, but I've done it several times. It's not really going to be as long as I would like it to be. So what I've done is I've dyed up some more of the last colour so that I can add a bit more length. And I am so far very happy with it. Show you the back. I don't know if you can tell, probably not. I've just got a few rows of the next colour on. Starts there. So, like I said, it's been very much a scattergun approach this week. I've just grabbed stuff, and to begin with I was just knitting on the Breezeway and I thought I'm going to have nothing to show anybody next week. So that's when I started just, you know, grabbing different things. Very pleased I've got the back of the crochet tabard done. And quite pleased with my progress on the socks. I think the next pair will be just plain stocking stitch, because I think I will be faster with that. Because it's a bit more mindless, I can just whiz through it. Well, I'm knitting these 10 rows while I'm having my breakfast. So, yeah, I'll try and get those finished for next week. Probably not. I'm just not in a very socky mood at the moment. The problem is I keep dyeing up yarns that I then want to knit, and that's adding to my whip pile. But it's also meaning that things that I don't really want to knit, like socks, are getting neglected. So what I'm trying to do is go back to a system that I had where I'm knitting a new thing and an older whip and the socks, to try and get some progress on some older things, because otherwise what's going to happen is I'm going to end up knitting all the new things in the new colours and the new exciting patterns and what have you, and then the whip pile is going to get neglected and will get older and older and older, until in the end I'll pull things out and go, oh, I don't think that's going to fit me anymore, or I don't really like that colour anymore, and pull stuff out. So yeah, that is my plan so far. I'm going to start working through, as I said, working through my list of older whips systematically. The first one to get finished is this summer sorbet tea, and then there's some shawls, a shawl, some shawls, 2 shawls I think. And in particular, I really want to get my Advent projects from last year finished before Advent this year. That seems like it would be a good plan. Oh, where did I put that? I bought a thing. I'm going to show you this. I've been wanting one of these for ages, and this is a new design. It's a long story. My friend Tonya, who has the Calm as a Stitch YouTube channel, volunteers at her local yarn shop, which is called Three Loves in Idaho. I think Nitty Natty went there. Well, I know Nitty Natty went there just recently. I don't know whether that video is up or not yet. Anyway, I follow Three Loves on Instagram because it's where my friend Tonya goes, and my friend Karen. And so on one of her, she does a live, excuse me, Erica from Three Loves, not Tonya, does a live, I think every Tuesday. And I was watching it last week, and she was showing the doodle decks she'd got in from Pacific Knit Co. And she'd got a new design, and I immediately bought it. Not from Erica, unfortunately, because she's in America. Erica in America. That amused me, I'm sorry. But from, where did I get it? Here we go. Tick, 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 tick. It begins with a C. I want to say Cheshire Yarn Co., but I don't think it was. But anyway, I just Googled doodle decks in the UK, and I bought it from this company that begins with a C. This is very annoying. Cheshire. I want to say Cheshire something. Honestly, it's like having a seance, isn't it? I could do with a spirit from the beyond whispering the things I've forgotten into my ear. Anyway, I've bought, for the very first time, a Pacific Knit Co. doodle card deck, and it's the Rhinebeck one. And I wanted it because it's got sweaters and socks and sheep, skeins of yarn and balls of yarn, and, you know, some filler designs. There's florals and leaves. So at some point I will be designing myself a cowl, or maybe a cardigan or something with those designs on. I'm very excited by it because, unlike my friend Nancy, who has the Kitty Scrapper podcast, she is, honestly, it blows my mind. I know some very, very talented people, and design wise, I would say Nancy and our friend Sue are probably top of the list. Nancy, if you follow her on Instagram, she's Kitty Scrapper on Instagram, has recently learned how to knit intarsia, and then immediately designed a cardigan, a very complicated cardigan with a picture of Michelangelo and Michelangelo quotes on it, and then proceeded to knit it in about a week. When I say mind-blowing, I'm not exaggerating. Yes, so Nancy will design her own stuff. She will put patterns on things, and UFOs taking up cows, and, you know, crazy stuff that I couldn't even begin. My talent does not lie there. And Sue is the same. Sue designs her own sweaters and socks, and they're always fabulous. And she knits them in 5 minutes flat. And yeah, I am not worthy, ladies. I am not worthy. But hopefully, with the aid of said doodle deck, I'll be able to design myself something colour worky. It would probably make sense to start with a cowl, wouldn't it, rather than go full on sweater. Yeah. That's Ewan getting ready to go to the gym, if you can hear him creaking about out there. I see I'm up to 35 minutes and I need to catch him to help me liberate the spider. Oh, he's got his earbuds in. No hope, he's got his earbuds in. Might have to do it myself. It's not a very big spider, but he's quite speedy. He's quite cute, but speedy. I'm looking now for a piece of cardboard that I could slide under the mug to rescue him. Anyway, I will be doing that off camera so that you can't hear the squealing and the screaming. And yeah, nobody needs to see it. So I'm going to go. I will see you next week. Next week we'll have the shop update in, I think. The birthstone collection seemed like a terribly good idea when at its inception. But June's birthstone has been giving me a little bit of trouble. I wanted to do Pearl because June was my mum's birth month, and Pearl is one of the birthstones possible for June, and that's the one that she preferred. So I wanted to do Pearl. It has been a challenge. There have been some, what should we say? Not samples. My words are not very good today. There have been some tries that haven't made the cut. 3 of them got dyed over. A 4th one is probably going to get dyed over, although it's not too bad. I could maybe, I don't know, I don't like it. It's probably going to get dyed over. But yeah, I think I've got the final 2. But I'll show you next week, because things may change between now and then. I might change my mind again and decide that they're far too subtle and we need something that's a bit more my usual in-your-face style. But yeah, so I've now managed to waffle on for nearly 40 minutes. I don't know how that happened, but yes, I should go rescue the spider, have a cup of coffee. It's probably time for Zoom. It is time for Zoom, and I will see you next week. Until then, happy knitting, have great weather, and yeah, see you next week.